Welcome, crew! This is Javier from und Panzer and Memes. This is not my first time on camera, but this is my first time doing this. I'm going to interview someone, a very special guest, a guest star. He's known by many of you, I guess. He's pretty famous on this military stuff, on war things, and obviously tanks. So I'm going to introduce Jonny from Potential History. Come on here, Jonny.
Hello. Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you to you for come. How are you?
Doing pretty good. You know, surviving through the whole pandemic and then now the big world events in the US right now. But yeah, just sitting at home, doing everything as usual, just trying to deal with all that.
This might be really tough, but I guess you're hanging well?
Yeah, it's going pretty well. How you been doing?
Yes, I'm doing the same thing. I'm from Chile, so we have a very awkward government, but we can handle for now. So yeah, I'm fine here with my family, my mother, my brother, father in another place, but I guess things couldn't be worse for the moment.
Yeah, well, I mean, given how poorly the US has handled the whole pandemic, it would be difficult for your country to have handled it worse, so hopefully it's going pretty well for you over there.
Well, we not try to speak too much about politics because we don't much rage for many people.
Yeah, sure.
Well, you're really known for the community of war stuff. When your incredible voice, you have a great narration voice talent.
Oh, well, thank you.
And also your random edition from memes, kind of hilarious sometimes. Well, I have a couple of questions I want to ask you, so
Yeah, sure.
I guess let's get started. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get started. Well, the most basic questions, you know, which is your favorite tank, and maybe it's the Bob sample? No, no. Really, which is your favorite tank?
I don't know. I think aesthetic-wise, even though it's not a tank, it's a tank destroyer, would be the Yag Panther. I just love... I got a model of it when I was a kid. It's a little... I don't think they make them anymore, but it's like, Forces of Valor. Yeah, that's what it is. Forces of Valor. It's a little die-cast model. It's in the background of some of my videos, and it's one of my favorites, partially just because of that. But in general, it would probably be Japanese tanks, probably the Ha-Go, to be specific, just because I really like how, kind of for the same reason a lot of people like French tanks, just because they're so different, and they don't really borrow from the international idea of what, you know, tanks should be, and they kind of go against the narrative. I think Japan really does that too, because they realized really early on.
Yeah,
you know,
they break the schedule.
Yeah, we have a totally different need for these things, if we even need them. It takes them a while to think, you know, do we really need these, or should we not focus on them? We're going to be fighting in completely different areas than the other countries that are building tanks en masse like we plan to. Let's have them specifically fit our needs, and that's one thing that I've been trying to put forth in the whole country tank meme series, is that it's kind of hard to say who's better and who's best when everybody has a different list of criteria that they're trying to use and go by, and I think the Japanese really embody that to a T. Of when you look at them and you compare them to other countries' tanks, you would go, you know, well, these are terrible. Why would you use these? But for them, it's, you know, no, this is what we need. This is what we require for our needs. And then later on, when they fall behind and they don't really update them as much, it's because, you know, they have other focuses. You know, if you dumped 50 more Japanese tanks on some Pacific island, like Okinawa or something, it's not really tank country. Like, it's not really gonna help tactically. You know, they're defending from bunkers and stuff like that. So I just love Japanese tanks, how they're very practical, how they're very specific for what their needs are and how they go to them. And then I also just love how, like, when the Ha-Go came out, when I was doing that video going inside one of them, even though it was all beat up on the inside, just looking inside that one and then reading about them a lot online, how many little features they had that for, 1935 were pretty new and pretty advanced. Yeah, actually having like bulletproof glass in front of their vision ports, like nobody was doing that, but they were thinking about spall and shrapnel before anyone else. Having the asbestos pads inside to try to prevent spall and stuff, and then also just kind of as a crash mat and stuff. That's something that you don't really see too many people worrying about spall liners and stuff until way later. They're really forward thinking and stuff, and so they're just really interesting to me how they live in kind of their own little microcosm and their own little bubble.
Well, until today, the Japanese is still thinking outside the box with the things and designs about this small thing like as a toilet. Do you see Japanese toilets?
Oh yeah, aren't they? They're like crazy, like technological.
It's like a
things.
dolphin face. Yeah. Yes, like a dolphin face with a. It's weird. Yeah, but
yeah,
I guess this is the most distinctive thing about Japanese. They do the things in her own style. They work, and they are fine with that, I guess.
Yeah, they decide that this is how we want to do it, and if you do it differently, we don't really care. This is our preferred way of doing it, and that's fine for us,
So Japanese, yeah, and the Jack Panther. Well, two things. I guess that's right. Well, my favorite is just the small and simple stock 3. I love it.
Oh yeah,
the small shape.
Hero.
Yeah, the small shapes. It's so simple, so basic, but so efficient. I love it.
Yeah, that's a big favorite among a lot of people, and I really like that too. I think the German tank destroyers, just in general, are just cool, and just like from their aesthetic to how they're implemented and stuff like that, all of them together, all the German tank destroyers are really neat. I don't think they get as much attention as they should compared to the tanks.
Well, we don't need to speak about the elephant, so...
Yeah, that's a bit of an outlier. But even that one's funny and wacky and just different,
Yeah, okay. Another question. You started pretty much about 3 years ago in YouTube. How is it? How is your experience starting on this platform?
I just kind of got the idea because I was a big fan and still am a watcher of YouTube, like more than Netflix, more than actual TV or anything. I always watch YouTube instead. And so I was looking at like commentary channels and stuff. And I knew there were history channels out there, but I was like, why can't you do like a history channel with a kind of commentary channel's like flair, so that making it kind of funny, and stuff like that, more laid back, more casual, and not just about like just the facts.
Too serious.
Kind of do that. Yeah. And so I made the account, I believe, in like November of 2017 was when I knew I was going to do it. So I made accounts on anything I could think of just to make sure I had the name. And then I released the first one is right at the beginning of 2018, like March or April or something like that. And I didn't really know where it would go. I completely thought it was just going to be a hobby thing that I was going to do for fun or just like a proof of concept, I didn't know if it would go anywhere. But actually, I don't know if you've heard of the channel Panzer Picture. He does a lot of stuff that's like, he has combed the internet and looked for tank footage, like of any kind of tank you can find. Yeah, he has a ton of tank footage. It's just so cool. And it's not just because, when you watch like historical documentaries or things that use footage, there's a lot of footage that you see over and over again. He's found like everything there is. So if you're looking for like rare footage or anything like that, Panzer Picture has a ton.
Okay, I'm going to edit this and put it right here too. Everyone can see it.
Yeah, it's a good time. But I actually messaged him because I had put like the Fury, the Avatar: The Last Airbender, I think the Clone Wars video, and maybe another one out.
The other day I was covering your channel and I watched the Clone Wars. Clone Wars now in almost a voice because the last season was released a few months ago.
Yeah, I still need to see that. I've heard it's really good.
Well, I don't want to spoil, but you need to watch it with patience. The first chapter are good. The middle one are kind of boring, but the end is awesome. If you're a Star Wars fan like me, someone is. Well, I got a view from my room, so anyone can deduce that. But if you're a Star Wars fan, you will love it because it connects everything. Or no, not everything, but more things about the episode 3. It connects in real time with the success of the movie. So it's fucking awesome.
That's awesome. Because I'm one of the few people that prefers the prequels to the original movies, and everybody thinks I'm insane for that. I just love how the prequels have like villains and characters and stuff that are like kind of flawed and two-dimensional, and or three-dimensional, sorry, and kind of like, you know, you can tell the villain's motivations and stuff like that. And I just don't like how the thing that ruins the original movies for me is that the Empire is just bad because the script kind of calls for it. You know, they're meant to be the bad guys, so therefore they are bad until Return of the Jedi, when there's some motivation,
some plot, design. Yeah. This is the baddest guy.
Yeah, I will fully admit the problems of the prequels. Like, Phantom Menace is nigh unwatchable throughout most of it, but I do like how the characters are a bit more fleshed out. But anyways, so I did those videos, and then I was gonna do the KV2 video. And so I messaged him because there's literally no KV2 footage on the internet. There is footage of them. It was all taken by the Germans, so it's footage of them destroyed.
They hate him.
There's footage of them destroyed for German propaganda footage, and then there is a German training video of a KV2. I don't remember if it's marked with German markings or not, but it's basically it kind of driving in a circle, and the announcer over the top of it is talking about like the viewports and the vision ports, and basically if you are infantry and you run into one of these, this is what you shoot through. And that is the extent of KV2 footage altogether, which is weird because the Soviets loved showing off their like big tanks. Like, there's so much T-35 footage out there of them in parades and stuff made by the Soviets, because even though it wasn't a good tank, they wanted to show people like, this is our might, this is our big tank. You know? And they never did that for the they never did it for the KV2 for some reason. So anyway, I asked him, can I use this footage? And then he checked out my channel, and he actually shared my Fury video. And if it wasn't for him, and that got picked up by the algorithm suddenly when there was this huge influx of people watching it when he shared it and everything. So it's really thanks to him that I got my start and everything. So if it wasn't for that, I don't know if I necessarily would have ever been that successful. But after that, the subscribers and everything, it all just kind of ran away with itself. And I'm still so grateful for, in my early days, and even to this day, the number of people subscribing and watching and everything like that. And it just kind of took off pretty quickly after that.
Yeah, this is a lot. I know. I've been watching your videos since, I guess, 1 year ago? No, 2 years ago.
Oh, wow. You're one of the OG fans then. Do you remember which one was the first one you saw? I'm always curious about that.
Well, I guess it was the... No, it was the Clone Wars. I guess it was about the... Oh, I don't remember. I need to make... I'm going to make a recording. Memory searching.
Oh, no, you're good.
No, it's just one hilarious video. I remember. It was... Wow, this dude... It's so random. It's so...
Was it Germany Can't Win World War II? Because that's the one for most people. Because for some reason, the YouTube algorithm just loved that one.
Yeah, people like to speak and discuss about, no, German can win, German always.
Yeah.
But no, no.
Oh, it's all good.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, that's just kind of how it all started, and still here today.
Well, this was, I guess, a pretty good started.
You have
creativity, and you have a bit of luck, because you need some. I guess you need some little luck with the algorithm of YouTube to people get to your videos.
Definitely.
There's so good channels lost in the space of YouTube because nobody gets them. Nobody knows him because you can't find them. You need to secret code or. Friend.
I've been working on a video on Monte Casino that should hopefully be out within a week or so. I'm not sure when this is going to go up, but it might be up by the time this is out. But I found a couple really cool channels while I was just looking up just, what people have already said in videos on Monte Cassino, or oftentimes linked to some lectures and stuff like that, because I try to link some lectures and things like that for people to have a video that can further discuss the topic if they're interested in the topic, and kind of keep like media with like media, along with kind of my other sources and stuff like that. But I found too that at the end of that video I'm going to mention and tell people to check out, because there are so many really good history channels that for some reason, they just don't get shared in the same way that other channels do. They're like, no, you need to watch these too, they're really good.
Yeah, you need to separate the things, because you need to know, I want to do this for people, I want to do this for people who like to fight, or I want to do this thing because I want it. And some people, sometimes you have to do the people want. If you don't, the people don't want to see you, so you will be on limbo for most time. And
you got to strike that balance between what you really, really like and also what other people want to see,
exactly,
and what you've come to be expected for. Yeah.
Okay, next question. In the Girls und Panzer fandom, there's all kinds of people. Really weird, really awesome, someone. But they like ships. They love ships. But not the who sails to the sea. They love couples of characters based on the nations. They love, for example, to ship pair a K with the American girl with Georgialyn, the British girl. Because American and England relationship. Yeah. It's kind of weird. What do you think about that?
Actually, it was Avatar. Yeah. Because Avatar: The Last Airbender's been on Netflix, so I've been watching it a lot recently. And I didn't realize, because I was watching some stuff on YouTube, because there's been kind of a resurgence.
Oh, take care. The fandom Avatar is...
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, and there are a bunch of people talking about Guitarra and Zuko.
Zuko, yeah.
We're one of those, and stuff like that. I always think it's funny. Are there any others in Girls and Panzer besides Kay and Darjeeling? Because I know
they never speak together. They never speak each other in the show or their movies. It's just...
Oh, you're actually right. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, they don't interact. They just interact with the main characters individually.
The only part when they some kind of interact is in the first movie, when they are in the... they are discussing the plan before the match. They are all commanders together, but they not speak each other.
Yeah, they don't really address each other. I didn't even think about that.
Tons of fan arts about this thing, comics, and...
Yeah, I've seen those.
It's really weird. I guess I'm too old for this, but people really enjoy it, and I give people what they want to.
Well, I know that a lot of times creators will kind of put an Easter egg in the show in the later seasons, or like just basically wink at the audience through the show and have them talk to each other, or have a throwaway line where they talk about like that whole part of the fandom that wants that and stuff like that. I'm curious if in the final season they'll make any sort of off-the-cuff mention about it or something like that, because I know it's like pretty big. I know there are a lot of people, like lots of fan art, lots of people that talk about it and stuff. So I'm curious if later on in the finale season, if they kind of address that somewhat or something like that, or maybe even just finally have them talk to each other or something like that. That'd be really interesting to see if the creators are aware, and if they kind of say something about it to, give that to the fans or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. It's weird. Well, speaking of ships, now the real ships, battleships or frigates, what's your favorite ship?
Oh, favorite ship.
The real ones.
Yeah. I do like... I like ships more for what they did in the story around them, rather than, like, technical specifications and stuff. A lot of the, like, Iowa-class battleships, the American ones in World War II. I love their story of being hit right at the beginning in Pearl Harbor. Some of them sunk, some of them taken out of action for a long time, and then eventually being returned to action, and so many of them, compared to how many that were hit, being repaired and being able to be brought back to fight the Japanese, especially at Surigao Strait, to kind of get their revenge on the Japanese and just absolutely pummel the task force that was headed towards them and stuff. But also, yeah, I really like the Yamato as well for its story of the Yamato perfectly summarizing why battleships are no longer used and why naval air power is the way to go, and that it's this big, you know, on paper, the biggest, scariest battleship. And had it existed in World War I, you know, it would have been unstoppable. But existing in World War II, it really shows that, okay, the age of the battleship is over and stuff like that. So
this thing is big, but doesn't work anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like how much stock the Japanese put into those basically canister shells for the huge guns that were supposed to be anti-air that really didn't do much and weren't that effective, and all of that. I also just like how capable the Iowa class was for what it was compared to other ones. It always seems like, and I don't know too much. I've not been that much into naval history and naval stuff compared to ground stuff, but it seems like whenever I hear about a ship, be it the Bismarck or something else, it seems like the rule of thumb is always to compare it to an Iowa class ship. And it's almost always that, you know, this ship is considered good, but if you compare it to an Iowa class, it didn't have these capabilities. So, and that's always just impressive to me. Like, there may be more to the story. I'll be the first to admit I don't know a ton about it, but just what I've noticed is whenever I hear like talking about a ship from World War II, they will compare it to an Iowa class ship, and it'll always be that the Iowa class has something else that it didn't, that is superior. And I'm like, man, these ships must have been fantastic for their time, because they're always what everything gets compared to, and they always come out on top somehow. So that's rather impressive.
Well, here in Chile, we don't have a production, our own production of our anything, tanks or ships. But we have a curious story, and this is a total patriot story about the war in Chile versus Peru. Peru? Yeah? Well, I'm not going to dig in the political stuff, but Bolivia and Peru fight against Chile for mine stuff. And then saying in the ends of a 100 and sorry, forget the year, right? Forget the year. This is when sorry.
Oh no, you're good.
In 1800, at the end of those years, the Peruvian army sent a battleship full of metal to invade Chile coast, and Chile army have just 2 wooden ships guarding the. But the captain of the ship become a hero, so he sacrificed and say, aboard the enemy ship, and they die. And today we have that guy in our money, I guess, in a pretty expensive. How do you say? Not the coin, the paper money.
Oh, the like bill.
There we have the.
For us to be dollar bill. I don't know what your money is called.
Well, we have coins and bills. We have his face on a bill, so he was a war hero with only a wooden ship against a big ass motherfucking ship. But
that's cool.
But they defeat him. They defeat him.
There are a couple South American wars that I forget which countries and which one it was. See, they need to be talked about more because they're really cool.
The Pacific one. This is my version of the Pacific War, because we know that with Disney, the Pacific War is Chile versus Peru, not the Japanese versus the America. Well, Chile, you say Pacific War and everything about it, and I remember another because they mentioned my city, and when I saw this in a movie, I was really shocked. Master and Commander. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. That's a really good movie.
Yeah. In the end, when they capture the enemy ship, the Kevin Costner was? No, it wasn't Kevin Costner. No. Well, the main captain say, take the ship and go to Valparaiso. Valparaiso is my city in Chile. The most important shipyard in all America for so many years.
Yeah.
So watch.
Yeah, I bet, given the location of your country and stuff, that'd be a very important refueling and stuff.
Exactly. Well, all ships come from Europe, travel to south, cross the America from south, and then go to north. That is a really key port, I remember.
Yeah.
So that is one of the most thing I could be proud because my country doesn't have too much global history.
No, there's a couple South American wars that I want to do videos on eventually when I get the chance, when I have less series and stuff like that. I forget which war it was, which country, but there is one that was like in the 1930s or something between two South American countries where one side had a bunch of tanks. I think it was like either tanks purchased from the British or purchased from the Italians or something, and they tried to use them to win the war, and they ended up getting beat because it's just not good tank country. I think it was in northern South America, between one of the countries there, but they tried to use their tanks in the mountains, and they just didn't work out because it wasn't good tank country and stuff. And then there was another war that was mentioned by a channel I watch a lot called Sea and Arsenal, when they were talking about a specific type of rifle that was basically both countries bought and had armed their armies with the same type of rifle, and so they ended up using the same rifle against each other. And it ended up, small arms don't typically make a huge difference in who's better or worse, especially in modern war, because it's more about artillery and large movements of troops and stuff like that. But it was the same rifle in the same cartridge. So literally when rifles were taken from one side, they could just take them and then equip their own troops with them. It was like this huge logistical boon to whichever side won that battle. And it was just so interesting to me. And so I want to do some stuff about South American wars, because they're really interesting on their own. It's just they kind of get ignored overall when you're talking world history and stuff. But it's interesting.
It's the classic pain of South American people. When you say America, you don't think about South America. You think about United States of America. And that's our pain for many, many, many years, when they say America, Captain America, America this, American that. We can handle that. But
it's like, we're in America too, come on.
I know, but it's wait, no, it doesn't matter. We take it with humor. Okay, let's go to next question. Well, the most deadly question, I guess, is which is the best tank, but I'm not going to ask that. Instead, I want to ask your opinion about which tank do you think do the best performance in the East Front or the West Front?
Oh, which one performed the best?
Exactly.
I guess if you were going to get super technical, you would have to say the Sherman, because it was in both, and it did a good job. But I guess there were German tanks that served on both sides too, so you can't 100% say that. Which one performed the best? I don't know. I think it still would be the Sherman, just because when you're talking about just reliability and ease of maintenance and stuff like that. Yeah, well, just because the Americans knew, like, we can't send these back to the factory. Like, the Germans sent their tanks back to the factory a lot, and that's not discussed very much, but oftentimes there's this really cool video where it's a military history visualized video on his second channel where he's interviewing someone from the German, the Deutsches Panzer Museum, and he talks about how the biggest issue that Germany had as far as tanks go in World War II wasn't not having enough tanks, it was they didn't have spare parts. And so they would oftentimes just have to cannibalize a tank that had broken down for something that was usually easily fixable. They just didn't have a spare part for it, so then they'd strip that tank to have spare parts for their other tanks. But a lot of times those tanks, if they were found to do that and they didn't have a small spare part and could be fixed but couldn't be done in the field, they would be taken away and guarded and then taken just so they wouldn't get cannibalized by the other tank crews. And then it would be sent back to the factory for a factory repair. And the Germans sent their tanks back to the factory for repair a lot. And, not necessarily because, yeah, well, I mean, there are some reliability issues, but also just because they could. You know, Germany took a lot of territory, and some of the fronts were, you know, hundreds of kilometers away. But still, in the grand scheme of things, especially when you have railroads, it's not that big of a deal to go take them back to the factory. But the U.S. didn't have that option because you'd have to ship them back.
Exactly.
So everything had to be repairable in the field, and I think that is kind of something that's not stated as much as it should be, just how important it is to have everything repairable in the field, and just how many effects that has, is in when a commander is going into the battle, he can, you know, pretty confidently expect to have the majority or almost all of his force able to go into the battle, that none of them are going to be down for repair or anything like that, because they all can be repaired easily.
Exactly. You need to prepare tools. It's a standard.
Yeah.
When you have a standard thing, you can do all the things.
Right, yeah, and it's just something that the U.S. had to do because it was in a unique position fighting so far away, that ended up being this huge plus to all their operations going on. I think also the German tanks, even though there is a lot said about them, a lot bad said about them, I think especially the later war ones, sitting in defensive positions, were able to do a lot of damage. But I also think early war German tanks aren't given enough attention, because the early war light and medium really fast tanks, like one of the reasons the Germans were able to conduct mobile warfare the way they were is they had these really fast, tanks.
Communication.
Yeah, and I think if you had the late war tanks like the Tiger and Panther, the ones that were slower, I don't know if you could have seen them move as quickly as they did, you know, in the early war years when they were actually successful.
I guess I like the second tiers of tanks, the Panzer III and Panzer IV, the Stacks.
Yeah.
That's the best performance in the war, for my opinion, I guess, from the Germans.
Yeah. I think the Panzer III is like one of the, if not the most underrated German tank that there is. People kind of look at it and see, well, it's basically in the category of a light tank almost by the end of the war compared to what else is out there. And but it was there, and it was doing its job, and it was doing it well.
He's doing his job. He's doing it well.
Yeah.
Go to rest. We don't need you now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, this is a personal question. If you can answer or you cannot, but how are you dealing with this coronavirus stuff? I guess many people want to know about you because you are not very active in your social media, so we need to wait about 6 months, 3 months to know about you something. So if you don't want to upload a video, at least tell us how are you?
Yeah, I need to be more active on social media, or I'll tend to do it in spurts. I'll be real active for a week, and then I'll be less and stuff like that. But yeah, I need to be more consistent. But for me personally, just because I work at home doing this, not too much day-to-day has changed outside of, you know, when I need to go out and get something or do something. It depends on if I can or not. But no, it hasn't affected me really personally. I know a couple people that did end up getting it. But they were my age, they were younger, so they just stayed in and took care of themselves, and they got over it. No one in my family or anything was affected directly or anything. So yeah, I mean, I usually tended to stay in anyways. And so it wasn't that much of a difference. It was just, I would think to myself, you know, oh, I want to go to the store for this, and then be like, oh yeah, that's not open right now. And so that was the biggest, you know, I feel kind of like a jerk saying that because there's so many people that have been greatly affected. But for me, no, it wasn't too much, just because I work from home and I usually stayed in anyways. Yeah.
Well, another personal question. What do you do with your life? What do you work? What do you do outside of the internet?
Oh, outside of that, Most of my time, I try to, and I've been bad at this recently. I need to get back into the habit, but just keep my schedule at home, trying to work for a certain amount of hours. But then I spend a lot of time on my Discord. I have one for patrons that sign up for a certain tier. We'll play games and watch movies and stuff like that on there a lot. So I'm usually hanging out on there a lot. But then just regular stuff. Go out, see friends. Go hang out around town and stuff like that. Nothing, because there's not too many museums or anything like that that I could really get involved in or volunteer around here. Nothing really too outside of the norm for anything else. As boring as that is, yeah, that's pretty much it outside of working on videos.
Well, turning back to your videos, well, you're very known for use tons of random memes, something awkward, something funny, something weird, I guess. But which is your favorite meme? Do you use more in your videos, or just the favorite, the recurrent?
Yeah, I wish I had more reoccurring ones. Hold on, I'm gonna ask Sarah. Sarah, are there any like? I'm gonna ask Sarah. Sarah, reoccurring memes you can think of? Yeah, like something I've done in multiple videos. Can you think of anything? Because I just can't. I need to have some though. I have a couple ideas for things.
For example, I hear much about the Roblox sound.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't really call that reoccurring for me, though, because that's such a big thing. I have a couple ideas for reoccurring things in series in the future, but I just haven't had a chance to get to them yet. But, as far as
videos, make more.
Yeah, I know, I need to. I need to get back in a better schedule. But, I don't know, there are a few that I'm really proud of, like intros, like the Germany Can't Win World War II Part 2 intro. That's the Allied Assault thing. I'm really proud of that one. The last one I did, the Axis tank meme one, I thought that one came out pretty good. Yeah, there are a couple like that I'm like, that whenever I watch them back, I'm like, oh, I did a good job on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I need to do some more reoccurring ones. Yeah. Some more inside jokes.
Yeah, you need more, like, how do you say that? You mark, you need, this is, boom, from this guy, bah.
Yeah. Oh, well, I guess there is one, but this is more just kind of in something that I say. I do reference the whole Japanese, during the invasion of Manchuria, they used tanks and airplanes and artillery in a kind of combined arms mechanized thing when moving down the Xinjiang-Jiawang highway. I do reference that a lot because I talk about when I talk about the Europeans being like, and they were trying to figure out which tank doctrine was the best, even though Japan figured it out already. And I try to mention that a lot because I do think that's ridiculous that the Japanese pretty much proved armored spearheads work in Manchuria, and all of Europe is like, you did what now? Oh, it's a Japanese. Oh, okay. Well, we still need to figure out if it really works. It doesn't really matter if the Japanese did it, just kind of the thinking of the time. But I do try to reference that as much as I can to be like, yeah, the Germans were still discussing as to whether or not this was the doctrine to go with. The Japanese already had proved it, but, they were still trying to figure out if it was, And so I guess that's the closest thing that I can think of, because I try to mention that whenever I can.
Yes, Japanese. We have this time. How do you make a robot with this? That should be fine. Yeah. Japanese culture is weird sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, you speak about watching movies. Which is your favorite war movie? Or one or two, top three, I guess?
Oh, I actually do like Fury, even though I gave it a hard time. I do like that. I really like Saving Private Ryan, even though it's almost hard to take seriously now, because especially the beginning of it, the Normandy landing, has been parodied and redone in video games and stuff so many times, to the point where it's like you can't take it seriously anymore, because it's been redone over and over again.
I was like 14, I guess, when that movie came. I was back in school studying World War II, but my teacher was very boring. Yeah, I don't learn it, but
really?
I don't learn the war stuff in school. I learn from my father, who told me stories. I learned from movies, but Private Ryan was freaking awesome in that time. And then
Oh yeah.
I remember when in my next year, my parents gave me a new computer, and some guy who built this thing put a lot of games, and there's one small game with the stars. It's called Call of Duty. And
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
the first one, it's like, oh, this is. Let's try. Oh,
Yeah.
the game started. Oh, the graphics for that time,
Oh,
we're
yeah,
speaking
yeah.
about 15 years ago, was
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh yeah, I remember those early Call of Duties when you first saw them. They looked so real compared to other games, and you were like, "Oh my god!" It just took you in, and you were so into it, and you couldn't get enough of it. I totally remember that feeling too.
And before Call of Duty, there was Medal of Honor. You remember that?
Oh yeah, I played way more Medal of Honor, Allied Assault, Frontline,
That movie-
and the expansions for those, Rising Sun, than any person should. I love those games so much.
That movie, that game exists because Private Ryan.
Yeah,
The Omaha Beach scene was the same, if you remember that.
exactly.
The Bangalores.
Yeah, and specifically in Allied Assault, there were parts that were literally ripped out of Saving Private Ryan. Like, there was one part where there's a bit with the medic on Omaha Beach where the medic says the exact same thing from the movie. There's a bit where some guy comes along to destroy the little hedgehogs that people are hiding behind, and they have the same conversation as in there. Yeah, there's literal exact. I mean, the whole level is
It's
very
a rip-off,
similar, of
yeah.
course. But even exact little, conversations and stuff. And then also in the levels after that, did you play Allied Assault?
Yeah, a lot.
Because remember the one about that it was the one with all the snipers in the city of Brest where it was all bombed out, and the first level was hunting the king, or no, it was hunting the King Tiger. It was where you escorted the tank crew to a King Tiger tank, then you got to be in a King Tiger tank. The very first level of that, where there were all the snipers running through, the set piece from where that guy in Saving Private Ryan takes the kid down, and then he ends up being shot by a sniper, and then they shoot him in the tower. In that level, if you can picture it, you go down the street, you turn to the right, and then when you turn to the left through that gate, that whole gate, the building to your right, is destroyed just like it is in the movie. And then up ahead of you, right where the sniper tower was in the movie, there's a sniper tower there with a sniper in it. The whole area is literally a set piece from that movie. And when I realized that, I was like, that is so cool that they did that down to the T. Like, yeah, Allied Assault had so many little Easter eggs and
They
stuff
made it
like
with
that. But
so
yeah.
many love. That game was made with love.
Yeah. But Saving Private Ryan. I grew up on Band of Brothers, like a lot of people did, and I loved that movie so much too. The Pacific as well, but I don't know. I also like some kind of more ridiculous, hokey historical movies, like the ones that come out of Russia. I think are great. The Stalingrad movie from 2013 that is so over the top and ridiculous. I love that. The T-34 movie that came out recently.
I need to watch this.
Yeah, it's basically War Thunder the movie. It is so ridiculous and so over the top. And it's not like historically accurate, but it's like, that's not what you're watching it for. Come on. So like when people look at it and they go like, oh, this is wrong. It's like, that's not what you watch it for. You watch it for the same reason you watch bad horror movies. Like, it's ridiculous and it's funny. Come on. That's why you're watching it, you know?
Could be like tank porn, I guess.
Yeah, basically. But there's so much, like, the tank fires a shell, and then it's slow motion, goes past, like, the German soldiers and stuff, and there's, like, so many slow-mo scenes in the middle of battle. Same thing with the Stalingrad movie, like, they're ridiculous. But I love movies like that are basically historically based, but they don't pretend to have any, like, accuracy. They aren't
like on Glory
reason...
Bastards.
Right, yeah, those kinds of ones. Like, the reason I didn't like different parts of Fury was because at the beginning they basically say like, this is 100% accurate movie, we are working to be as accurate as possible, and then they handle it so poorly in inaccurate ways that it's like, okay, either drop the whole this is perfectly accurate thing at the beginning or actually work to be accurate. Like, the only time historical accuracy in movies bothers me is when they go out of their way and they say, like, we are super accurate. Like, we're trying to be super accurate. And they kind of put that moniker on it. Like, if they do that, then, you know, I'll give them a hard time about accuracy.
We are America. That's why they say that. Because we are America.
Yeah.
We do movies. We do accurate movies. We win the war.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so if a movie ever says, like, this is 100% accurate, then I'm going to hold them to the standard. But if they don't say that, and it's obviously just having fun with it, and it's inaccurate, or if they're trying to be serious, but they don't say 100% accuracy, and they say it's a dramatization, then yeah, that's fine. Don't tear those apart. But only when they say they're going to hold themselves to that do I.
I really like the Enemy at the Gates movie. I like it. It's pretty fun. The word stuff, I guess, the romantic, it's disgusting, I guess. Yeah. But the sniper encounters, I think it's really fun to watch.
Yeah, that's one of those that it's like, yeah, the beginning is totally inaccurate, and there's inaccurate parts to it, but it's a really entertaining movie. It's really cool to watch, and the snipers tracking each other and going back and forth and stuff. Those parts are really cool, yeah.
And another ripoff. That part, the first part of the game, was ripped off in Call of Duty, the first game.
Yeah. I remember that.
When they crossing the Volga, the ship, the officer reading the letters. This is your mother's letters. He say you fight for the motherland, and they shoot the guys. So fun.
Yeah, that was another one.
Well. Speaking about movies, not war movies, normal movies. Which is your favorite?
Of all of the war movies, which one's my favorite?
No, war movies. Normal movies. Hollywood movies, independent movies, Russian movies, Japanese movies, adult movies.
Shoot, what is it? Probably if I had to pick an absolute favorite, it'd be, have you ever seen the movie Shutter Island? I really like that one. Although that one is kind of historical because it talks about him being in the war. Man. I don't know. I've never really thought about that. Yeah, because there's so many. Shutter Island comes to mind on top, though. So I'll just say that one because that's more of a drama, too.
It's good. About talking about not war, but on-war movies. Do you watch Jojo Rabbit?
No, I haven't seen that one yet.
I've heard it's amazing. Watch it.
I've heard it's
freaking
really
amazing. Good. It's so hilarious and so tragic in some part. The mix of feelings is so hard. You can't digest that. That's the best part of the movie, I guess. The experience of the movie that offers to you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Take a look at. Don't.
I've heard it's very funny, and then 5 seconds later, it's like horribly tragic and sad. Like it pulls you in both directions really well.
Exactly. I guess the movie was intended to be that because you see, this is a parody. When you saw the trailer, this is a funny movie. I think it was a parody. Oh yeah, this guy he hallucinated with it's comedy, but. Yeah, it's comedy, but it's also drama, and well-worked drama, I guess. I hate that dramatical, you need to cry like Life is Beautiful.
Yeah.
No, I don't like it. I watch it sometimes, but when you saw it again, this is so cheesy. No. No. Well, now I'm going to enter on the geek questions because this is a Girls and Panzer page and I need to give my audience something about that. We are talking too much about opinions and real stuff sucks for so many. So let's give you some fantasy question. Well, I'm going to say something. Your first Girls and Panzer video was uploaded March 16. And that's the day of my birthday. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's my birthday, March 16 of. No, I'm going to say the year. I'm not too old. But I say I was digging in your channel. Watched that video tons of times, but when I see the date is, hey, this is my birthday, so
Yeah.
could be destiny, or maybe it's the wheel of the Panzer of the lake. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's an awesome coincidence, and I'm glad that it worked out that way. Yeah. Actually, I did. That's kind of funny because the last one that I did on episode 1 of Finale, as soon as I put it up, someone on Twitter tweeted me and said, "Hey, it's my birthday that you put this out. Thank you." So apparently, those Girls and Panzer videos just have a way of appearing on people's birthdays. So that's a great coincidence.
Yeah, that brings on a little joy of my awkward life, I guess. Speaking of that finale, have you watched yet the episode 2?
Yes, I have.
Wow. And where it come the video? I guess a lot of people asking to you.
Yeah, unfortunately, just because of what is in the episode, because I watched it like 3 times, trying to come up with, is there a way that I can do this? And just because there's so they finish fighting the French team and nothing new is introduced. They just finish that. Yeah. And then they go back and they talk, and then and then at the end they fight a team that I've already covered in other videos. So the only real new history stuff or anything that I could really talk about in a historical analysis, instead of it just turning into, I'm going to like recap the plot, which I don't really want to do in a video. Like recapping the plot was part of, was to facilitate the historical parts in the other videos, was they do like a quick run through of like other teams, new teams getting beat.
Yeah.
But like literally everything that I could put in a video for that, I've already had people say to me like, you could mention this tank and this tank from this and stuff. And so like I get like tweets and stuff all the time saying like, you can cover these things. And it's like, yeah, but dude, you just literally listed everything that I could cover. So, it wouldn't be anything. It would be so short and there's nothing there to where I don't want to. Yeah. I know it'll be a long wait again because they're releasing them very, very, very slow. But I'll give it a shot for the next one to see if there's something there. But it looks like all the new teams or anything new to cover has already been eliminated from the tournament as far as the story of this season goes. So it's looking like I'm not sure if there's going to be anything that I can do in the future unless there is some significant new thing introduced. But there hasn't been. So I know there's the Italy battle OVA I could do.
There's the Italy, the other French team
someday, but
then we fighting in the Maginot Line. That part is really awesome. I know. I love that part. I guess I hope you say this because there's no much material, I guess, to a new video.
I'll just
it's just finish the first plot and then a small part of plot, and they're starting the second plot and cutting in the half. Maybe you need to wait till part 3 to match these two things.
Yeah.
Because there are many speculation about the next team battle.
Yeah. Even just as a fan watching the episode 2, though, I was kind of disappointed because not a lot happened. I was hoping for a bit more, especially for the long wait that there was. But
exactly.
I guess you need episodes like that to facilitate the next one. So
the fans know they are doing this every couple 2 years.
Yeah.
Because they need to maintain the franchises alive. Much series do the first season, the second season, and they are forgotten in the history. So they are doing this to keep pushing our things, keep buying our toys. We are doing a lot of stuff to make you interesting, and don't forget our show. I've heard that this is the last that they're gonna do. Like, this is it. After this, they're done making series, which if they are spreading it out to kind of keep the franchise alive, I don't understand why they don't just keep doing series instead. Like, it seems like a weird way to go about it, but I guess that's what they picked. Well, there is there is a bunch of spin-off mangas. I don't know if someone told you about the Ribbon Warrior.
Yeah, actually, one of my patrons sent that to me, and I've read a bit of it. Haven't read all of them yet, but yeah, I know about that one, and I've read a bit of it.
Well, the plot is not the
and I know
best,
there's a couple others.
but they focus on the minor tanks, and I think that was pretty awesome. They choose a singular and very small tank from First and Second War, and the fights are so hard. But in paper, you can. Show too much. You need to visualize things, so that's in your imagination the most. But
yeah,
that could be some material, I guess, sometime. I don't know.
yeah, possibly. Because I remember, I think from what I read, it was like the Polish and it was parts of the Japanese team with different tanks that weren't in the series.
Yeah, this is a total. What is the word for this? No, not that much. It's like a battle royale. That's it. It's a battle royale of mishmash team. I beat you, so now you're in my team. So we mix tanks, and well, that's the final part. But in the beginning, there's some kind of country size for every tank.
Yeah,
especially the Finnish, who have a lot of stolen tanks.
Yeah,
I guess that's one of the most recurrent jokes in Gears of Panzer about the Finnish. The Finns. Every time I saw a comic or a manga, a meme, they always stealing tanks, and come on.
yeah. Well, that was one thing when I skipped the Finnish in the Minor Axis meme. People were disappointed, but I was like, look, they just used Soviet tanks. They couldn't produce their own. Like, for a video about like the economic and operational and production sides of a country's tanks, like they captured what they could from the Soviets and they refielded what they could. Like, within that sentence is kind of the gist of it. Like, if I do something about like tactics and stuff like that for tanks later on, then yeah, I could definitely talk about the Finnish. But if you're talking about production, like, they didn't produce any. They just yoinked them from the Soviets. So that's about the gist of what I can discuss with them in that setting.
Yeah, well, they put the BT tank now is on flag, I guess. The other day I was speaking with a friend and he told me about this Korean group BTS. So I said, I love this guy. Well, I will show you my BTS. I boom, bunch of love of BT tanks.
That's great.
Okay, another meme question. Have you ever been able to hear of a M1 Garand? Because the sound is really exciting, I guess. Some people think they are even so erotical. They cannot handle.
I had a friend when I was growing up whose uncle had one, and we would go to his. He had kind of like land out in the country and stuff, and he had his own shooting range. So we were shooting one, and it's one of those. You know when you hear or see something like in movies or in video games or in TV a lot, to where you get kind of familiar with it, but you've never seen it or heard it in person. And then when you hear it in person, it's almost kind of a weird feeling when it's exactly how it is in the media that you're used to it as. That's what it was for me. Like, I didn't expect for it to sound different. I didn't expect it to sound different, but it was just like, yeah, in real life it sounds exactly like that too. Like, duh, of course it would. But it was just kind of a funny like thing for me to be like, oh yeah, it sounds the same. And so I did kind of like giggle, and I was kind of like, haha, I did the thing, you know. But yeah, it was fun.
Another question with that one. The other day I was playing not the last, the Call of Duty World War II game, because it was free on PS4, but the rifle came with 8 bullets. I always remember that with 7 bullets. Do you know about that?
No, yeah, it was always 8. Actually, it was 8? Originally during the trials, the U.S. trials for a self-loading rifle in the 30s, the requirements specified 10 rounds, and it had to be in an M-block clip, and all of the rifles that were submitted originally had 10 rounds, even the Garand rifle. And they were also thinking about moving away from the 30-06 round to, I think it was 226 or something like that. A slightly smaller round, not quite intermediate, still full size, but a smaller round to where with the current M1 Garand configuration, John Garand could fit 10 rounds in the thing. But then apparently Douglas MacArthur put the kibosh on this new round adoption because they had just piles and piles of 30-06 that they weren't just going to throw away. So when they said, actually, your rifles have to be 30-06 now and you have to redesign them, without making the gun significantly thicker, he had to reduce the magazine capacity from 10 to 8. So that's where it ended up being 8. There were other submissions to that trial that kept it as 10 rounds, and the rifles were either already big enough that they could allow the extra size, or they made them slightly bigger. Like, I know, shoot, I forget, but there was some guy besides Pedersen that submitted a toggle lock gun for that too, and he was able to retain 10 rounds. So some of the other submissions did retain 10 rounds, but the M1 Garand, without getting too ridiculously big in the receiver, had to cut it down to 8. And it was just such a good rifle that even though it was 2 rounds less than what they specified, they adopted it because it was such a good gun.
Yeah, I know. Well, another key question. Where this is a Weibo, because well, right here I have a plushie of Yukari, our spirit animal.
I need to get me one of those. Yeah.
You're conscious about the call you formed with your phrase, "Yukari is my spirit animal."
Yeah, well, I guess we were talking about recurring memes earlier. I guess that would be one of them that I've kind of mentioned in a few videos. But yeah, I've noticed that being said a lot all around. And I don't know, it's kind of fun to have an impact on fandom and stuff like that so much. Yeah, that makes me happy.
It's so weird because most of us use the term waifu, waifu, yeah. But with that girl who is special and non-existent today.
Yeah.
But when you hear spirit animal, I think in Avatar, for example, when this Oriental culture about animals and how do I know, Knights of the Zodiac or the Chinese zodiac animals, when you say spirit animal, you think exactly in that, a spirit animal, a lion, a tiger, a dragon. But when you when you say Yukari is my spirit animal, so I guess that break the wall. That's break the internet. It's full. In my page, I'm running this Facebook page for little more than a year, and every time I upload a Yukari meme or picture, someone out there Yukari is my spirit animal always.
Oh, that's fun. I didn't know it had that much reach. That's awesome.
Even with quotes, history, potential history, boom.
Oh, that's great. Oh, I didn't know it had that much reach. I'd seen it around, but that's hilarious that it's that common. That's great.
It's everywhere. So, well, you need to be in the right place to watch it. I guess you're not in many places, so.
Yeah. I need to check that out more.
Well, back into Girls and Panzers. Which is your favorite school thematic country thing?
Oh. Probably the Japanese or the Americans, just because I love how the show picks country stereotypes and does them so well in a way that is A, not insulting, but B, true and funny. You know, because when I saw the Americans, you know, they're loud and brash and all that, and I was like, yeah, they got us down to a T pretty well. But then even when they get to the Japanese school, they do it to themselves as well, and they take the Japanese, like, bonsai stereotype and stuff, and they do that too. I just love the humor.
I was shocked. I was shocked the first time I watched this, because you don't make jokes about people dying, so you're pretty conscious about this bonsai side is totally suicide. So when they do it in a show for kids mostly, it's kind of weird. So they don't think about that. This is gonna be offensive, but they jokes about themselves.
Yeah, the post-war Japanese culture, because you know, the war starts out and they switch governments so many times throughout the war that it seems like, especially once Tojo takes over and really makes it a totalitarian fascist state and dissolves, you know, the other parts of the country, a lot of the country wasn't really happy with that, but they weren't allowed to speak out with it. And from a lot of stuff that I've read, because I'm just interested in the culture at Japan at home and what was going on there and what the average person was thinking during the war and then after, it seems like after the war, there was a lot of criticism of that tactic and that kind of, you know, warrior code and stuff, because it got so many of their family and loved ones killed. There was a real criticism of the fight to the death, fight absolutely kind of thing, because they saw scenarios where, you know, my son, husband, brother, whatever, his garrison commander could have ordered them to surrender, and he would have survived this war that we were clearly going to lose, that it was obvious we were going to lose long before anybody admitted it. And instead they had them charge and, you know, die this kind of useless death for something that wasn't. So after the war, there was some criticism of that whole tactic and that whole thing. And so I think that's almost come full circle nowadays to modern Japan, of it being something that was initially criticized and kind of treated with a reverence in the way it was criticized, if that was bad, why did you do that? All the way down to almost being a joke now of, yeah, when we did that, that was stupid. And, you know, I think the ultimate form of criticism is making fun of stuff. That's why you know, whenever there's something to criticize about, you know, commanders or systems or something like that in World War II, I usually take the form of joking about it, because I think that's the ultimate form of criticism. It takes the power away from the person who did something bad or scary. And so I think that's kind of where they've gotten with it, that even though at face value to some people where it looks like, wow, that's kind of a dark thing to joke about, I think they see it as, yeah, that was really stupid, we shouldn't have done that, let's make fun of it, you know?
Yeah, but, well, the times are hard sometimes, and not many people share your humor of this kind of humor, I guess, but I guess the movie do it, and it works.
Yeah.
Even in the second movie, that final one, when they are speaking about the new strategies, they are in some kind of school with this not chairs, tables. They are it's like a pyramid kind of table, and they're discussing about the strategy and everything. Same charge. We need to charge. We need to charge for here. We need to charge for there. Another kind of charge.
Yeah.
So
that's actually really cool, because I've seen footage of those exact rooms where they're sitting in. It's kind of almost like a classroom, like a lecture room. And I've seen footage of a World War II Japanese tank school. And the people who are at the tank school learning how to be tankers are literally sitting in a room behind desks, and everything to a T looks exactly like that. There's actually footage in my Japanese tank meme video of this. They're looking at an engine, and he's showing how the engine works and turning the crankshaft and stuff, and people are in the student seats looking. And if you look at that clip, and then you look at the Girls in Panzer clip that's both in the movie and stuff, it's the exact same room. And so whenever they have stuff that's historically accurate to a T like that, it always makes me happy. And I love little things like that to show that they really, you know, they're history nerds too. They really care about that stuff. They might have seen that exact historical clip, you know, and modeled their scene after that. And I always think that's cool.
The details make the difference. Many fans of Garupan Panzer they are like you. They are not anime watchers, but they saw the show from memes. Even me, I watched the show for a meme.
Exactly.
I watch and remember a peek about the first episode when they have the painted tanks. And the memes say, fuck camouflage, we are rolling with style.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
It's so old. I see that. What is this? Well, that's a Panzer IV, and I need to watch this, because I don't watch it on the year the show was released, and I'm so ashamed. I missed part of my life.
I know, right? Well, I actually found the show just because I was on like Google Images looking up something, trying to find a detail about a tank, and I found a picture from the show of the Panzer IV with the main characters in it, and I was like, this Panzer IV is accurate down to a T, and it's in an anime. I was like, I have to find what this is. Like, this is so weird that I have to figure out what this is from. And then I found the show, and I just, like, watched the whole thing that day, because I was like, this is so, like, it's just a regular, like, tournament anime. You know, the plot isn't anything special, but the amount of work that went into the historical aspects is incredible. Yeah, and so I just had to see what it was, and that's how I found it, kind of similarly.
Well, if you dig in more deeply, when you find the character's bio, every character has her birthday in a special date.
Yeah,
everyone.
It's a German operation or something like that, or whatever country they're from. It's the date of a major battle or something like that. And I'm like, man, even down to the lore and stuff that's not even mentioned into the show. Like, all this stuff is so deeply well thought out and stuff. It's so impressive.
It doesn't affect the show, but it's there. Someone think about this character, say, you are gonna be, this day is your birthday. Why? Because I like that date. Because that thing happens. And for example, the past Saturday, June 6th.
Yeah.
You know who birthday was?
My guess would be K, but I don't know for sure.
No. You carry.
Oh, it is?
You carry born in June 6th. So
that's funny.
It was remember about the Operation Overload, the D-Day, and you carry's birthday in the same day.
Yeah. Because I only know him for the 5 main characters, because I know Hana's birthday is the kickoff for the second Ardennes offensive, Watch on the Rhine, that caused the Battle of the Bulge. And then what's the girl who's the radio operator?
Sorry.
Yeah, hers is June 22nd for Barbarossa.
You remember?
Yeah. But I haven't looked at the non 5 main characters' birthdays. I got to look those up too, because I'm sure they're all a similar thing.
But everything, even the support characters has her birthday in a special date.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And you see there the small details about the creators of the show. Most of us love it, because that's the thing. We make his watch this, not obviously the pretty girls, but it's also the contrast, I guess, like the powerful girls. I compare this show with powerful girls, for example, because if you watch that show, right? You have killer girls.
No, I haven't. No.
Really? It's so old.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
The premise is you have 3 little girls, cute girls, punching villains, making them blood, throwing their teeth with her superpowers. So when you have something cute, making something manly, sorry for the expression, but when you have that thing, I think it works, because you are not used to those things. Watching girls riding tanks. Where? How?
Yeah, right. Well, and I like how in the lore it's a sport, like, specifically
for ladies.
For ladies, yeah, I love that little detail.
That will make you a fine lady, find a husband, make you successful in your life, studies. It's so stupid, but
yeah. Actually, I just looked up the birthday for K from Girls and Panzer. It's January 17th, and that was the Battle of Cowpens, a very significant Revolutionary War battle. So that's funny.
Accurate, you see? Yeah. Every character has her own birthday, except for one. Clara, the Russian girl.
Oh, really?
Because in the lore, she is the only girl from Russia. She's 100% Russian. She's not Japanese.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And his father works in a secret government somewhere work. So there's no dates about her birthday.
Oh, yeah, it's not there. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, hometown, something difficult to pronounce, Russian. Novosibirsk. I'm sorry if I butchered that to any Russian people.
There's no birthday for her, for Nona, for Katyusha, everywhere, but not her. Well, trying to next to advance. Do you expect something for episode 3 of that finale?
Well, the episode 2 ended with them fighting
a cliffhanger,
the Japanese.
Yeah.
It's like the first one ended with this, so we need to conclude this. But after that, we need.
I'm not sure, because there hasn't been anything so far. Because remind me if I'm wrong, because it's been a while since I've watched the second episode. But they aren't setting up really who the team that they really have to beat or the one that's going to be difficult, because the only ones left in the tournament basically are ones that we know already. So they're not setting up a particular one as that will be, it seems like they're just going through the tournament. They haven't suggested much for later on in the series. So not really. I can't think of anything that they've kind of hinted at yet or anything. I'm curious where it will go, but I'm not sure what it necessarily will be.
Well, I'm going to record this because I I want to keep in the history. Not some kind of prediction. Everything I'm trying to do is when you look at the chart, I'm gonna put here. The other team we're fighting next to Ora is the Finns. And guess versus the Antium, the Italian team.
Oh yeah.
So
I wonder
if we match those tanks and who fights with other, we haven't seen the Finns fight with the main characters. So for the plot demands, the Finns win the second round and fight Ora in the semifinals.
Yeah, I'm curious. That is one thing I'm curious about, which teams, because they have a bunch of main character, or not main character, but, supporting cast, important teams fighting each other right now and other battles that we're not seeing. And so I'm curious who they're going to have win and who they're going to have up against each other later on. So yeah, I'll be curious to see which ones become significant later in the series.
Well, I will be 100%. It would be the Finnish teams for this next round, and for the finals, because Orange need to win because plot. The things are the beats are for Pravda, the Russians, and Kuromori, the Germans. No. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, the Germans and the British, Saint Gloriana. Because Ori was
true.
never be able to beat those girls.
Yeah, they might turn that around and have that be it. I wonder. That would make sense to me that would be the final round. They would do that because that's the whole meme of Ori's never beaten them. So
we need to break that meme. And the other small detail is about Alice, the university small girl. Do you remember that? The commander of the university of the movie, the little.
Yeah. Because they've shown her doing stuff, so she might show up or something. Or be something important.
They go to the museum of this scary bear who likes punch.
Yeah.
But in another plot, in a small clip, she's looking for she's going to school. She doesn't want to be in the university and want to join to school.
Oh yeah, I remember, because wasn't there an OVA where she's gonna join
and they say you are now partnered with Mijo. No, I don't want to partner with him. I want to fight with her. So I leave.
Yeah.
And now the question are if she's going to join some school, and everything is going to say they're going to join to Saint Gloriana. So the final climax will be Saint Gloriana with Alice. Maybe he's ultra powerful Centurion.
Yeah, that'd be my guess, especially because it's a British tank. Yeah, I bet that's it. I bet your prediction will come true.
I hope we do. But we are hoping to see in a funny and smarter way, because that's what I want. And now the final question for trying to close this, because I guess this is 1 hour.
Oh yeah, we've been going for a while.
Yeah, it took more time than I expected, but it's fine to
It's been
talk.
fun.
Yeah,
Alright.
it's fine to talk with someone. Well, practicing a little my English because I'm a little bit
I know.
nervous.
It's been
But
great. No, you're good.
thanks. The Doom question.
Yeah.
Which do you think is the best tank game? War Thunder or World of Tanks?
Oh, War Thunder, easy. I like how it's more realistic, and I just tend to have more fun with that. Although I have played more World of Tanks. Like, back before I started the channel, like 2016 and 2017, I played World of Tanks a lot. And it was fun, you know, don't get me wrong, but once I discovered War Thunder, I tend to enjoy it more. Although I don't play much of either, really much, recently. I just haven't been. No reason why. I just haven't gotten.
Yeah, you have
gotten
other
around to it.
things, yeah. But yeah,
But yeah, I would say War Thunder for sure. It would
I
be
have-
if I had to pick.
my feelings are in shock with those games because War of Tanks is fun. It's easy,
Yeah,
it's quickly, but the system is not very friendly sometimes. It's kind of unfair sometimes even.
Yeah.
But even in War Thunder, you're with this big fucking tank, and one little one can come behind you and shoot one small, and you're dead. Everything in your crew, and they
Yeah,
show you
yeah.
in your face how they die. That's the best and worst part of the game. But yeah, we all, I guess, my group agrees that War Thunder is the best game of tanks.
Yeah. And they both had their problems of like over monetizing and like, you know, buffing
yeah.
tanks that you have to buy and being
You need
paid
to
to win in
buy,
the past
pay.
and stuff like that. They've both been pretty even for that. So I guess you could just look at them strictly on gameplay. But yeah, I do like how War Thunder does have things where they have different weak points and stuff, and it is a more realistic thing. So you can have a little tiny tank run across, and it seems like a more even playing field to have that instead of an HP system.
But it's not the hardest game. Do you own a PlayStation 1 sometime?
I did a long time ago. I do not anymore.
Do you even hear a game called Panzer Front?
No, I never played that.
Wow. you miss one of the hardest games of tanks I ever seen because
yeah.
it's so hard. You're fighting in Europe with bunch of fog, and you're dead. Boom! You start and you're dead. You don't see the shot coming. You don't see who's shooting you. You don't see anything. But the funny was the control. When you have I have here one PlayStation control. To move, you use two fingers, one for the left and the right track. You move with like a tank control.
Oh yeah. Oh,
You
yeah.
move the tank with two buttons to move the tracks. When you want to turn, you'll drop one, wait to turn, tank turns, then forward or backward. It's so fun and awkward at the same time. I was a kid, so
Yeah, the PlayStation 1, because its controller didn't have joysticks, there were some games that were just hard just because of, like, just the controller, you know? There was one game called Army Men Sarge's Heroes that I had both on the computer and on the PlayStation 1. And I could play it really well on the computer and stuff, you know, with a mouse and everything. But on PlayStation 1, it was just hard to control. Like, it was impossible to play. Like, there were so many games that were ported over to PlayStation 1 that just, like, the controls just weren't there. So you couldn't, like, play it effectively, and it was frustrating.
that's even worse game. Even the we mentioned before the Medal of Honor from PlayStation 1
Yeah,
was
yeah.
so awkward because you need to move, aim, and shoot. You cannot move when you cannot aim when you're moving. Have this awkward control like the Resident Evil games. You need to stand up, aim, shoot, move.
Yeah.
Oh, thankfully I have it on PC too, but the PlayStation
Yeah.
experience was really awful.
Yeah, not to be a PC Master Race person, but controls and stuff in games are just always so much more satisfying on PC because you can control them so much better.
PC
and
Master
easier. You
Race
can-
always wins.
Yeah, so you can focus on playing the game and not the frustrating stuff like the controls and everything.
But the times have changed. Now you have more movies than games.
Yeah, yeah.
But I guess that's the things where the next generation want. So we need to feed them then and make them happy with things you have or the things I have. You make happy many people with your videos, so we enjoy them.
Thank you. I'm
We
glad people
enjoy-
enjoy them. And I'm
we
very
enjoy
grateful
them
for
very
everyone who
much.
watches them and stuff.
Well,
I know it's a cliche thing to say, but the only reason I can keep doing it is because you guys watch them and enjoy them. So I am equally grateful for everyone who watches them and all of that.
when you do something you like it, everything is enjoyable, even
Yeah.
in the hardest time or when you have problems to do it. You do it anyway, and you feel satisfied with when people say they like your job.
Yeah, exactly. Also, thank you so much for having me on and doing this whole thing. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's more fun than I expected. I just this because I want to try something new because I'm in quarantine, and let's say I work in a video game store. I'm a seller, so I manage in this old geek nerd stuff since I've had kid memory, but now I can work. So I'm at home and I say I need to do things. Yeah, let's try this. Let's see if it works. And I guess it's working. And it's been really fun to talk to you, Jonny. I enjoyed it so much. And thank you for accept this interview. You're a great man.
Oh, thank you.
We see you. We're gonna to see you. And if you want to say something for the audience, this is your time.
Yeah, I'll definitely be on the page. You might see some memes from me or something. And I hope you enjoyed watching. And for anyone who's watched the channel, thank you so much. And for anybody who wants to check it out, be sure to.
I'm going to put some links here. That's it. Thank you, Jonny, for coming, for giving us your time. It's really fun, but now we have to say goodbye. So, see you around.
Yep, see ya. Thank you.
Take care of yourself and keep doing your job.
Will do. Talk to you later.
Bye, guys. Well, that was Jonny from Potential History. Thank you for watching this. Subscribe for his channel. He's really awesome. I'm going to have put other links from the channel he says, and obviously my personal channel. So see you there, crew, and remember, stay safe.